Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your Tuesday evening installment of UK SPTV. I am your host for the evening. My name is Apostate Alex. For those of you who don't know me, I used to be the director of public book sales at the Church of Scientology in London, and now I'm sharing my experiences and giving other people a platform to do the same here on YouTube. So welcome to those of you who don't know who I am or who are perhaps new to my channel. Thank you for joining. We're not going to be on for hours and hours. This is just to bring you a couple of little updates I have for you about the channel, about the UK operation of Scientology, and the headline story, which you'll get to in a moment, which is Scientology's links to the British Crown Jewels. This is a live stream, so do get your comments that side on the live chat. Get them in. Ask me any questions you want. We will do Q&A at the end. Super chats obviously will get priority. So yes, thank you for joining. The first thing I want to cover is a little bit of exciting news. Now, I believe through the course of this live stream, I will hit 8,000 subscribers. I'm currently at 7,998, which means I'm just 2 away from hitting that 8,000 mark. So if you are watching this, sometimes YouTube likes to unsubscribe people without telling you. So if you're watching this, firstly, just double check that you are subscribed and you hit on the little bell to get notifications when I go live, because that doesn't happen automatically. So this is how my channel has grown since I started in February. So we're only March, April, May, June, July, August, September. We're 7 months in, and I am just so amazed and shocked at how much this channel has grown. So thank you to everyone for supporting in that. We just went up 7,999. Hopefully we'll hit 8,000 soon. If you guys want to help the channel grow, the best way of doing that is liking, commenting, sharing, and of course subscribing. The way the YouTube algorithm works is it likes to push out videos that other users find interesting. So the way it measures that is engagement. If you comment, if you like, if you share, that tells YouTube this is good content, and YouTube then pushes out to more people. So we'll keep an eye on that as this stream progresses. Now, couple of things before we get into the headline topic. Number one, I recently launched a website called Scientology Business. Now, I'm going to share my screen again so you can see it here. If you are more of a reader and you like to look at the sort of in-depth analysis that I'm doing on my channel, this is where to go, Scientologybusiness.com. It is where I have numerous articles, for example, the one talking about the main headline topic in today's stream. And I post receipts, I post diagrams, I post images. And if you like something you see on my channel and want to find out more, do some reading, see documents for yourself, this is where to go. You can see here, for example, I've actually got all of the contracts that you have to sign as a staff member in Scientology as PDFs that you can scroll through and read for yourself. Another big expose I put out earlier this week is the UK shell companies that Scientology used to funnel millions of dollars from the UK through Australia into their tax-exempt US bank accounts. And the way I've done this is by dissecting the number of shell companies that exist here through publicly available information on Companies House. If you go to this article, you can actually click see the board, and there is an interactive map here where you can browse and see how all of the Scientology organizations and entities are linked through board directors and through shareholders and so on, and how their operation runs. So that is where this is all held. Scientologybusiness.com is the place to go. SPTV Tattoo Warrior, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. 8,000, we're almost there. It's still showing for me as 7,999. So we've got one more to go. But thank you for super chat. I really do appreciate it. And your support means a lot. So what I wanted to do first is tell you a little bit of news about Scientology Business, that website I just showed. Today, I received notification that Scientology Business is now verified and considered a news source on Google News. So if you use the Google News app on your phone, or if you go to news.google.com for all of your news information, you can now find Scientology Business as a registered publication, as a news provider that has been authorized and approved by Google. And I find this highly entertaining that it appears to be the only one. If you go to news.google.com, or if you just go to the Google News app and you search for Scientology, which I have done here, you can see on the right-hand side, the only source that is listed as a verified source is Scientology Business, my website that I launched the other day. So if you use Google News, you can sign up to follow us here on Google News and get notifications and so on whenever we publish new articles. So keep your eye on that. So just another source to get your information from regarding Scientology. The whole purpose of Scientology Business is really to have a place, kind of like Scientology Money Project run by Jeffrey Augustine in the States. He very much encouraged me to do this. It's a website that exposes and talks about Scientology's business operations, its companies, shell companies, financial accounts, and how it operates logistically and, you know, legally here in the UK, Europe, and throughout the Commonwealth. So I've just started getting going with this, guys. I've only been doing it for about 3-4 weeks, and already there have been over 3,200 attempts to hack into the website from IP addresses that can be traced back to VPNs in America. And it is very clear to me that I am on Scientology's radar, and I thought, what better way to get back than just get my head down and carry on doing what I'm doing. So that's why we're here. The article that I'm going to be talking about today was published only a couple of hours ago on Scientology Business, and it is called Fraud, Lies, and a Hollywood Blockbuster, Scientology's Link to the British Crown Jewels. Now, I'm not going to just read through the article, because if you want to read it, you can go find it online. I thought I would just talk through my findings and show you with some images what on earth I'm talking about here. So this here is the UK crown jeweler Mark Appleby. Now, Mark Appleby is a distinguished and renowned jeweler. He's a craftsman. He is responsible for the custody of all of the crown jewels in the United Kingdom. That's the Imperial State Crown, St. Edward's Crown, the scepter, and all of that regalia that you saw in the coronation of King Charles III only recently. Mark Appleby is in charge of looking after these pieces of jewelry, repairing them and restoring them, and making sure they are looked after and well kept. He was appointed by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in 2017. He was following in the footsteps of another former colleague of his who had the same role prior to that. Now, what's interesting is on the Royal Family website, where you type in crown jeweler, who is a crown jeweler, what does he do? On the page on the Royal Family website, it makes reference to his job as the head craftsman of a company called Mappin and Webb. Mappin and Webb has been around for 248 years. It is an establishment. It is well known in the UK as a high quality, high craftsmanship quality jewelry maker and restorer. They sell Rolexes. They make custom pieces of jewelry that are priceless, quite literally. Mappin and Webb is actually a company that is associated with Scientology, and that's what we're going to discuss here. Mappin and Webb is a company that is now currently owned by the Watches of Switzerland, which is a big conglomerate in the sort of retail fashion jewelry world. However, in 2002, a news article on The Guardian actually listed or mentioned one of the heirs of this business, Mappin and Webb, is someone called John Mappin. Now, John Mappin, here he is. Let me bring this up for you. This is John Mappin. And this is what he calls Camelot Castle. It's his hotel near Tintagel in Cornwall. Although it looks like a very grandiose castle, it is not centuries old. It's, I believe, only 100 or 200 years old. And it is a hotel. This is him standing very proudly next to his castle. This is John Mappin and his wife Irene standing in the reception of Scientology's superpower building at its headquarters, Flag, in Clearwater, Florida. This image was shared in a publication Scientology sent out some time ago, and this is where the link starts to become very interesting. Now, in 2002, in this Guardian article, it says John Mappin is the heir to the Mappin and Webb fortune. He is in line to inherit millions and millions of pounds from this business. It is unclear whether that has already happened or not, because the business was bought by Watches of Switzerland, but nonetheless, it is a link, and the business still bears this guy's name, Mappin, Mappin. On the Truth About Scientology website, you can see a list of Scientology service completions. You can browse any Scientologist. If they have been published in a Scientology publication, they will be on there, and it will show you all of their course completions. Now, someone like myself, who was just at London Org, which doesn't have a publication, for example, won't be listed on this website. But anyone that's done any major services at Flag, at St. Hill, or any of the other larger organizations around the world, they will be on here. So it is from this website that we can see John Mappin is OT6, or at least that's the last that we saw on reported by Scientology. He has completed the superpower rundown. He has completed the cause resurgence rundown. He has done the notorious L's, the L10, L11, and L12 rundowns, which can only be done at Flag. And the fact that he's OT6 means he gets servicing at the highest level organizations of Scientology. In fact, most of his records link to either St. Hill or Flag on the Scientology completions website. Now, that's already a link between the crown jewels and Scientology, which is interesting. But I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here. John Mappin is a convicted fraudster. Someone actually emailed me earlier today with a phrase that Aaron Smith-Levin would say, and I love it. And I actually edited the article to include this. And it now says, a convicted fraudster and current Scientologist in good standing, John Mappin. It is so true. John Mappin is a Scientologist and he was convicted of fraud. Now, what happened? In 2002, a guy by the name of Benjamin Pell, he had a nickname for himself, Benji the Bin Man. Essentially, this guy was going through different like bins and rubbish areas to try and dig up dirt on people. This was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He got a little bit of a name for himself. And he was approached by John Mappin, current Scientologist, to make a Hollywood blockbuster film about him. John Mappin approached Mr. Pell and said, hey, I know a bunch of Hollywood actors and writers and film producers, filmmakers, and they're really interested in making a blockbuster film about you. John Mappin got Benjamin Pell to part with £77,500 of his own hard-earned money. That, for comparison's sake, is about $100,000. And Ben Pell sent this money to John Mappin, so that he could make this film. In fact, the quotes here are from the article. He said there was a well-connected Hollywood filmmaker, and he said that there were links to Quentin Tarantino films, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and White Man's Burden. John Mappin said, give me $100,000. I'll link you up with these guys and we'll make a Hollywood blockbuster about you. The case went to the High Court, and in 2002, John Mappin was found guilty of fraud and ordered to pay this money back to Benjamin Pell. In fact, the judge who presided over the case actually said, I'm going to quote here, for whatever reason, Mr. Mappin was a party to a scam designed to extract money from a person who, as he must have appreciated, was highly vulnerable. John Mappin was convicted of fraud. John Mappin is currently a Scientologist in good standing, and the company that bears his name employs the chief crown jeweler, the person responsible for looking after all of the king's crowns and regalia. I just want to know what due diligence was done to ensure that this fraudster didn't have any impact on government duties, on the royal family, on the coronation we saw recently, because I haven't seen it reported anywhere about this link between a convicted fraudster, Scientologist, and his links to the crown jewels. You can read the article yourself from 2002 on The Guardian. This is the article here. Benji the Bin Man wins fraud claim, and you can see he won back £77,000 after being hoodwinked into paying to finance a bogus Hollywood blockbuster about his life. Now, what's even more hilarious is how ridiculous this scam is. John Mappin said he could link this guy up with a Hollywood blockbuster filmmaker. It turns out that guy was a friend of John Mappin's who was a hairdresser. A hairdresser. He had no film qualifications. He was not a director. He did have a few credits in a film for doing hair in a couple of films as a hairstylist, but he was not a Hollywood blockbuster filmmaker or writer. He was a hairdresser. John Mappin said, give me $100,000. I'll introduce you to this filmmaker guy who turns out to be a hairdresser. He was convicted. I'd like to say that again. So that's the story, right? Let me bring this up again so you can see. He made 4 separate payments totaling £77,500 so as not to miss this unique opportunity to work with one of the biggest names in Hollywood. Put it bluntly, however naive it may seem, he believed there was going to be Hollywood writers on the case, for it to be picked up by a Hollywood studio, cast of big name actors in Hollywood film. In fact, the well-connected Hollywood filmmaker was a friend of Mr. Mappin called Ian Jones, who turned out to be a hairdresser. I know this story is not new. It's from 2002, but it's nonetheless interesting, and it's relevant because of all of the massive crown jewel ceremonies that we have seen recently with the coronation, and soon we'll see another state opening of Parliament with King Charles III and all of his jewelry and crowns and so on. So that's the story. If you want to read more about it and see the evidence, the receipts, as you guys like to call it, you can head to the link in the description, Scientologybusiness.com, and you can read the full article here where it has the images that I shared and a little bit about John Mappin. John Mappin is a highly controversial figure. He continuously tweets on Twitter about how great L. Ron Hubbard is. He recently tweeted only in July about how L. Ron Hubbard unlocked the key to telepathy, and he has the tools that allow you to do this. He has been campaigning on GB News, nonetheless, which is a controversial news media outlet here in the UK, and he has been known to fly a QAnon flag above his Camelot Castle Hotel, and he recently was brought into question because the government offered to pay him £1 million to use his hotel to house asylum seekers. We have a migrants crisis happening in the UK right now, where people are trying to cross the channel from France to seek asylum in the UK, and John Mappin is quoted as saying in an interview that I watched earlier today that he featured in, he said that he believes the army, the British Defence Forces, should step in to defend the country rather than help these people who are seeking asylum. He was offered £1 million to convert his hotel into a place for these asylum seekers to stay, and he told the government to buck off, and he doesn't want anything to do with it, and was outraged at the idea that the taxpayer would pay such a thing to help these people that need help. John Mappin is a highly controversial figure. John Mappin is a Scientologist, and John Mappin is a committed fraudster. That's all I've got now, guys. If you want to jump in with some questions, we will run through some of them before I wrap it up here. But please go and check out that article. A little update as well while you get your questions in. Later this week, I don't know if you saw the first one, but I started a short series with your lawyer friend, Zach Morgan. And we started dissecting the staff contracts that you have to sign when you join Scientology staff. It was fascinating to have him on yesterday to talk about all of these contracts you have to sign and agreements and releases and waivers. We're going to be doing a part 2 and probably a part 3 and 4 later on, hopefully this week, where we're going to continue dissecting, because when you sign your staff contract, it's actually a small stack of paperwork. It's like 6 or 7 actual different contracts. And Zach Morgan and I just went through the first one of those and looked at whether it is actually a legal contract, why they've put certain clauses in, and we're going to continue dissecting that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And if you want to support the channel, you can always buy me a coffee. That would be greatly appreciated. I've had a few people asking about PayPal as well. So there's now a link in the description if you want to donate via PayPal. And of course, super chats and all that stuff is really helpful. But the best way to support the channel, as I've always said, is to like, share, comment, subscribe. It helps the algorithm, all that sort of stuff, you know. Cali Blue 2. I saw the crown jewels in London Tower in the mid-1970s. At least I think that's what that was. I was a little kid. Yes, you are absolutely correct. The crown jewels are kept in the Tower of London. They are actually uninsurable because they are worth so much. They are considered officially priceless. So they are held under lock and key in some very highly secure display cabinets with 24-hour guards and so on. And part of that responsibility to make sure that they are protected is in the crown jewel system. The only people allowed to actually touch the crown, King Edward's crown, which is the one that's used to coronate a new monarch, the only people allowed to touch it is the monarch, the king, and the crown jeweler, nobody else. There's actually a BBC news interview that was done recently, or a while ago, where the Queen, the late Queen, picked up the crown and was talking about it, and it was notable that even the presenter wasn't allowed to touch. He had to keep his hands down because the only people allowed to touch the crown jewels are the jeweler and the Queen or the king. And the jeweler is this guy that is linked to Scientology and fraudster John Mappin. PTS for life. Hey Jeff, how's it going? The John Mappin story is fascinating. I hadn't heard of him before. I actually used to be friends with John Mappin on Facebook when I was a Scientologist. He is a well-known big Scientology celebrity donor. He's a huge person here over in the UK. Scientology have tried to distance themselves a little bit from him since he started going down the whirlwind of QAnon. So I haven't seen much publicly about them. However, yeah, we will do more content about John Mappin because he is fascinating. He's recently been going on a tangent on Twitter about the immunizations you can get against the COVID thing, and he is talking about how it's a poison, and he's gone down that whole conspiracy theory, which we won't get into that debate here, but he is someone that tweets a lot about the importance of detoxifying your body. Now, when he talks about it, he doesn't say detox your body, he says detox the body. And that is very much Scientology language, because you have a mind, you have a body, but you are a spiritual being, you are a Thetan. So when you talk about the body, it's like it's a separate thing. It's not, and it's not a part of you. It is a thing that you operate and you run. So it's fascinating, and he is definitely an interesting and prolific tweeter. So yes, keep your eyes on that one. Terry Ray. Hi, Terry. How you doing? Tom Cruise is trying to get inside the RF. It makes me sick. Yes. And this is another thing. Scientology have been trying to weasel their way into the royal family for a very long time. There was a news article recently that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who obviously live over in the States now, had a meeting of some description with, I think it was John Travolta. And the question was asked whether they would be interested in Scientology. And I believe it was very quickly shut down. So they're not trying to recruit them or anything, but the introductions have been made. And when this link goes so deep into the royal family with a company that's been around for 248 years, it just makes you wonder, how close are they really behind the scenes to the royal family? Because I worry they're a lot closer than you and I could even think. I bet he's a fan of the Master Cleanse. Yes, 100%. For those of you who don't know, PTS for Life is a guy called Jeff Beaumont. I interviewed him on Sunday and then again on Monday. He is a Canadian former Scientologist. Go and check out his channel. He's just joined SPTV and is talking about his experiences, and he's a great guy and it's really fascinating to talk to. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As I said, if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee, PayPal, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. I will keep up the fight and keep up the good work. Thank you so much for your encouragement and support. It does mean a lot. And go and check out Scientologybusiness.com, and I will see you guys very, very soon.